Hello friends and family, my name is Daniel Burl and welcome to Diary of a Manic. Today, if you watched one of my other videos, I talked about this video and I called it Psychopathy versus Sociopathy, and that is not the title of this anymore because I changed it. I did a lot of research, and I'm going to explain at the end of the video why I'm just making this about psychopathy, but it should be a really interesting episode. So we're going to talk about generalized psychopathy first. We're going to talk about the triarchical scale first, and then we're going to talk about the two main conceptions of psychopathy, and that's Kleckley and criminal psychopathy, and I'm going to explain both of those in great detail. So we're going to start with my introduction to psychopathy. Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, Joel Rifkin. These are the names that you think of when you think of psychopaths. There are many different kinds of psychopaths, though. They're not all just murderers. Like, you could live next door to a psychopath, you could work with one, you could be dating a psychopath or sociopath and not know it. And it's only in extreme cases, such as these three, that they kill people, or kill that many people, I suppose. Like, sociopaths and psychopaths can blend into a crowd very well, which I will talk about. So, yeah, I'm gonna start with my generalized psychopathy here. We're going to talk about the triarchical scale, and we're going to talk about the three characteristics on the triarchical scale, which are boldness, disinhibition, and meanness. And that's the triarchical scale is just to determine how bad the psychopathy is and what kind, because you can usually define the conception of psychopathy using the triarchical scale, So we're going to start with boldness. That's the first defining characteristic of psychopathy. It includes low fear, including willingness to risk shame or rejection in social situations, and it's the least accurately measured of the three in the triarchical model scale. Mostly because how do you measure boldness? Like, how do you measure disinhibition or meanness either? It's like none of these would be really easy to measure. But yeah, boldness is supposed to be the least accurate of the three. And as far as the risking shame or rejection in social situations, I will talk about that in the Klecklian side of the conceptions, so stay tuned for that as well. Disinhibition is the second characteristic on the model, and it shows signs of poor impulse and control, including problems with planning and foresight. Other signs are lacking effect and urge control, demand for immediate gratification, and poor behavioral restraints. So Ted Bundy is he's the example I'm going to use for most of this video, mostly because I know the most about him, and he's pretty all over the place. So he's good to use in these examples. Ted Bundy showed incredible urge control at times, and he also showed really poor urge control at times. He showed really strong urge control when he was being followed by police, but he also showed poor urge control at the same time because he used to lose the police officers who were doing surveillance on him, and he was actually only caught as a suspect because he drove away from a police car really fast that was looking at his plate, and he ran a stop sign. That's the only reason that he became a suspect. So yeah, he's kind of all over the radar, and it's most of these, it's kind of the person in the situation. It's so varied that it's hard to pinpoint it at one time. Meanness is the last characteristic on the model. It's the specific link to lack of empathy and disdain of close attachments. So that's more the sociopathic and typical criminalistic psychopath that you would imagine. Meanness can be may be caused by either high boldness or high disinhibition. And yeah, meanness is a lot of what you think of when you think of psychopaths. But when I talk about Cleckley and psychopathy, I'll actually explain why that's not really an accurate depiction of a psychopath. We're going to talk about Cleckley and psychopathy first. It was named after Herbert Cleckley. He found that a psychopath could mimic a normal person perfectly, that they're able to mask or disguise the fundamental lack of internal personality structure. He was probably one of the first people to study psychopaths in depth. He has a book. I don't remember what it's called, unfortunately. I'll find a link for it and put it in the description. I'm actually going to buy it on Amazon. But it was first published in 1944, and that's where he talked about the Cleckleyan psychopathy, and he talked about just generalized psychopathy and how they live in society and all that kind of stuff. So it should be really interesting. I'll probably, when I get it, I'll read it, and then I'll probably put it in one of my videos as a review. But back to Cleckley psychopathy, they're able to mask the fundamental lack of internal personality structure, which means they typically don't feel a lot of emotions or any emotion at all, like typical human emotions. Like they don't feel love, or usually they can feel anger and happiness, but it's not as structured as a normal human would be. Like I'm happy when I play my video games or watch a movie, but a psychopath would be happy from killing or any of those darker things, and that's one of the things that makes them a psychopath. So this mask that they wear causes an internal chaos, which in turn causes destructive behavior. It's more typical for Cleckley and psychopathy to be self-harming rather than harmful to others. Internally, the psychopath cannot experience genuine human emotions, which is why they mask themselves. And it's usually criminal psychopaths, which they'll outwardly throw that chaos rather than self-mutilation, or a lot of psychopaths just commit suicide because they can't handle it in general. One example of Cleckley psychopathic behavior is being able to tell a lie in vivid detail that sounds both plausible and lifelike, and when confronted with the lie, they can pass it off easily as a joke. They make up a story about how they fought a bear, and they will make you believe it, and if you can disprove it, that's when they will say, "Oh yeah, I was just joking. Why would you think that was serious? I didn't fight a bear." Oh, but that's generally what they do. That's a lot of a sociopathic behavior as well. They take pleasure in having that power. Like they like the attention, and they like feeling better than others. So they will make up stories so they sound better than they are, so people like them more. Psychopaths are generally very likable, and likable in their masks, I guess, as they don't feel awkward or uncomfortable talking to new people. Although a psychopath's inner emotional deficiencies may seem comparable to the inner status of a masked schizophrenic, he outwardly shows nothing brittle or strange. Schizophrenics often feel the same way as sociopaths or psychopaths, but psychopaths have the ability to mask everything. They can mask the fact that they don't like these people they're talking to. Now on to criminal psychopaths. Criminal psychopaths are the more well-known of the two conceptions. However, its name is imprecise. Not all individuals who would be under the conception of criminal psychopathy are criminals. It's just generally they're more harmful to others and they're more likely to commit crimes. That's why they're under the conception of criminal psychopaths. Though they are much more likely to be criminally active, they're often smart enough to keep just out of the law's grasp. Ted Bundy, in fact, he kind of poked fun at the law. Like, he poked the bear, and he would abduct girls in a 40-foot space between houses where there wasn't light, and he would abduct someone from a busy hotel, or he would abduct a girl from... He abducted 2 girls in the same day from a beach where there were thousands of people on the beach, but he just said, "Hey, can you help me put my sailboat on my car? I'll just take you over and grab it." And he abducted 2 girls that way, and he was just proving to the law that he was smarter than them, essentially. So yeah, that's pretty dark. While Cleckley and psychopaths are more self-destructive, criminal psychopaths are more outwardly destructive and are more prone to parasitic relationships. Ted Bundy is an excellent example of criminal psychopathy in so many ways. He showed his true colors early on. Like, I'm reading his book, and there's everything from when he was born to 1982 or something, and I think he was already in jail at that point. So, yeah, he had quite a few parasitic relationships. He often borrowed money and never returned it. He lived with his girlfriend while he was sleeping with other women in other states. He was engaged to 2 women at once, and he had no remorse whatsoever for how he was treating these women. It was sick. He would actually go out in the middle of the night, abduct a girl and kill her, and then come back and sleep the rest of the night with his girlfriend. Like, yeah. So he's a good example of a psychopath. Criminal psychopaths don't often commit crimes of passion because they're too precise, and they have too much of an agenda to just do something, just flying off the seat of their pants. So they can't do that. Even Ted Bundy, he had a job as a security guard working at one of the schools that he was abducting girls at. So he was watching their every move, and then he would wait for the right time, and it was always perfect. It took how many years for the police to even find any evidence whatsoever that he did anything. So individuals with this disorder will do almost anything and everything in their power to further themselves. A lot of car salesmen or jobs like that have psychopaths working in them. I'm not I don't want people to think that car salesmen are psychopaths, but that's a good job for them because they don't feel bad about taking people's money and that kind of stuff, and they often climb to the top of the corporate ladder very easily because they will do anything and everything in their power. Like, they will step over their own mother to get power for themselves. Many times the individuals will use someone else as a pawn if they're doing dirty work so they can keep themselves out of the eye of the police or government. One example of someone doing everything in their power to further themselves is Clifford Olson. He murdered 11 plus people, then manipulated the Canadian government to pay him a substantial amount of money to tell him where he buried the bodies of his victims. This is pure psychopathy. Not only did he kill 11 people for his deeply disturbed personal reasons, which I don't really want to get into right now, but he also conned the government out of money in the end. He figured out a way to screw the government to pay him just to find the people he murdered. So yeah, he's kind of sick. So yeah, that's Cleckley in criminal psychopathy. That's psychopathy in general. That's the triarchic scale. And before I make this video too long, I'm just going to finish up with the sociopathy stuff. Sociopathy and psychopathy are so often grouped together that people often confuse the two. I can't say for certain that there are many differences between the two disorders, like enough to distinguish one from the other most of the time. In my research today, I found so many similarities between the two, but so many doctors, so many researchers, so many psychologists have so many different opinions of what makes a psychopath and what makes a sociopath, that it's practically impossible to define the two unless I form an opinion that's based off someone's opinion, and I'd have to do more research for that. Because the way I've always had sociopaths described to me is they're more of the cunning blend in with everybody kind of thing, but then psychopaths, like everything I found on psychopaths had that they blend into society, yet they don't feel that they're part of society. So yeah, it's really up to you if you want to define sociopathy your own way. But right now I'm going to do some more research and I'll see if I can find more differences between the two, get some more solid definitions so I can differentiate the two better. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm almost at 20 minutes here because I had a crap load of stuff to talk about, and I apologize for that because I know that you guys have stuff to do, and yeah, I figured this would be a really exciting video though. Like, I really enjoyed talking about it. It's criminal psychology is one of my passions, and I just love researching criminal psychology. So this was a real treat for me, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Leave suggestions in the YouTube comments or Facebook comments, and yeah, have an awesome day, guys, and thanks for watching.